Tastes and colors can't be debated, right? But here are the top 2 anime of today, and the ranking should please everyone. Otherwise, we have to agree that anime is now part of culture, and some characters like Goku and his transformations have become recognized icons worldwide. Number 1, Attack on Titan. Eren Yeager, then a small boy around 13 years old, leads a peaceful existence with his parents and his adopted sister Mikasa in Shiganshina, a city near Wall Maria. But unfortunately, despite humans not having seen titans near the district for over a century, the city is attacked by a 60-meter titan, which creates a breach in the wall against the city. Yet titans then flood the street, devouring every human they encounter. Eren and Mikasa witness their mother being eaten right before their eyes. An armored titan then appears and breaches Wall Maria, allowing the titan to invade the entire area between Walls Rose and Maria. Eren and Mikasa still manage to escape the city before it's too late, along with their friend Armin. The queen's father, who was out of town that day, is missing. However, he appears to Eren at night and gives him the key to their basement, which supposedly contains crucial information about the Titans. Following this tragic day, Eren decides to seek revenge and vows to kill all the Titans to the last by joining the army and specifically the Survey Corps. Number 2, One Punch Man. Saitama is a young unemployed man, depressed and without deep purpose in his life. Well, one day, he meets a crabman who is looking for a young boy with a bad chin, as he puts it. Saitama eventually meets this young boy and decides to save him from the crabman, whom he barely manages to defeat. From that point on, Saitama decides to become a superhero and trains very seriously for 3 years. Push-ups, no squats, no sit-ups, and running 10 kilometers every day with no heating or air conditioning. At the end of his training, so intense that he loses his hair, he realizes he has become so strong that he can now defeat all his opponents with a single punch. His excessive strength is a problem for him since he finds no opponent to match his level and gets bored with his job as a hero, because the fights no longer give him any thrill or adrenaline. Even though he has stopped many extremely dangerous threats, no one seems to notice Saitama's incredible ability, except for his friend and disciple Genos, a young man turned cyborg. Number 3, Fate Zero. The story takes place 10 years before the events of Fate Stay Night. During the Holy Grail War, 7 great mage masters chosen by the Holy Grail will summon 7 mythical spirits, serpents, to engage in a fierce struggle until only one remains. After 3 unsuccessful wars, the fight is about to resume for the 4th time, and the mages rush to Fuyuki, the battlefield, each praying for victory. Indeed, the Holy Grail will grant the winners their greatest wish. Among these 7 masters, one of them, Kirei Kotomine, doesn't seem to show any determination to acquire this Holy Grail, while on the other hand, Kiritsugu and Miya are fighting with all their might to obtain it. The rivalry between these 2 men, as well as the unfolding battles between master and servant, form the core of the story. This story uncovers the truth about the 4th Holy Grail War, which took place 10 years before the famous video game Fate Stay Night and was already introduced by fragments. Light will be shed on the fight involving Kiritsugu and Miya, Shiro's adoptive father, and hero of the story, Tokiomi Tosaka, Rin's father, and the young Kirei Kotomine, the main antagonist. Number 4, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. In the country of a mistress where alchemy is considered a universal science, 2 brothers, Edward and Alphonse Elric, travels across the country in search of the legendary Philosopher's Stone. Their father left them and the mother, Tricia Elric, died a few years later from an illness, leaving her 2 young children behind. Sometime later, the 2 brothers try to bring her back using alchemy, defying the law that strictly forbids human transmutation. They will pay a heavy price. Edward, the eldest, will lose his left leg and his little brother his entire body. Ed will sacrifice his right arm to seal his younger brother Alphonse's soul into a suit of armor. Edward decides to join the army at the age of 12 as a state alchemist. He passes the exam with flying colors and gets his alchemist name, Fullmetal Alchemist. Aided by Edward's state alchemist status, the two brothers will risk their lives to find the stone that will restore what they lost. But the secret of the Philosopher's Stone is well kept. Number 5. Vinland Saga. Mixing historical figures and events with many fictional elements, Vinland Saga narrates the life of a young Icelander named Thorfinn. En français, the son of a renowned repentant warrior will see his life change when his father is murdered by pirates led by the Russian Askeladd. Driven by revenge, Thorfinn will follow and then join this band with the express desire to kill his father's assassin in a fair duel. Thorfinn's quest for vengeance is the main thread of the prologue, from volumes 1 to 8. This will notably lead her to take part in the Danish invasion of England in the early 11th century. This part of history brilliantly deals with various subjects such as war, politics and religion. And paints a convincing and human portrait of the daily life of war victims, but more so of the warriors, far from the stereotypes usually associated with victims. From volume 8 onwards, the second story arc begins. The action moves away from the English battlefields to a farm property in Northern Europe, while the theme of war gives way to that of redemption. Number 6. Chocho's Bizarre Adventures. In England, in the 1880s, Jonathan, the only son of the aristocratic Joestar family, strives to become a gentleman. His daily life is turned upside down by the adoption of Dio Brando, a mysterious young man of the same age. This adoption stems from an old promise between their fathers. Dario saved George Leicester's life in the past and asks him on his deathbed to take in his son. Mediocre and devious, ambitious and unscrupulous, he will do anything to seize the Joestar fortune and ruin Jonathan's life. Their fratricidal struggle will lead them into the darkest corners of black magic and continue from generation to generation like a curse. Also, check out the second arc of the JoJo saga, Battle Tendency. Follow Jonathan's grandson, Joseph Joestar, in New York and relive his entire adventure on ADN. Mob Psycho 7. The story follows Shigeo Kageyama, a fourth-year student with psychic powers. He can bend and lift any object with his mind. However, he slowly refused to use his abilities in public because his immense power could negatively affect normal humans. Today, the one and only thing he desires is to go out with a girl from his school, Tsubomi. With his mentor who has no powers, he continues to live peacefully while trying to achieve his goal. Number 8. Kill la Kill. We discover a 17-year-old girl, Ryuko Matoi, arriving in a Japanese town. She wanders around with a strange suitcase on her back that contains one half of a pair of scissors. Coming through the slums, she is targeted by a few pickpockets. After dealing with them, they gather information about the city, which is apparently under the grip of a dictatorship. At Tonoji Academy, we find the student council president and the leader of the totalitarian movement, Satsuki Kiryuin. Matoi decides to enroll at the academy and challenge the president to get more information about his father's death. To find her assassin, the holder of the second half of the pair of scissors called When the Two Halves Are Reunited, Snippety Snips. Not being a match, she flees to her old burnt-down house and finds a uniform in the ruins. This one is special because it talks but also allows him to gain strength. That's when Matu decides to do everything to defeat the president. Number 9. Tokyo Ghoul. In Tokyo, creatures called ghouls have appeared and they feed on human flesh to survive. One day, Ken Kaneki, a young student, is attacked by one of them and suffers a serious injury. To stay alive, he receives a transplant from the ghoul that attacked him and becomes a hybrid. Half human, half ghoul. With an artificial eye. Quickly, he realizes that he can no longer eat the same foods as before. He then starts working at Café L'Antique, a ghoul's hideout, where he learns to feed without harming humans. But he will soon find himself in the middle of a bloody war between the CCG, the Ghoul Control Center, determined to find and exterminate them to the last one, and the Aogiri Tree, a ruthless ghoul organization. He discovers that ghouls are not so different from humans and slowly starts to adapt. as the story of Sword of the Stranger takes place in Japan during the Sengoku era amidst a period of civil war. A Ronin by name saves a young orphan Kotaro and his dog Tomimaru during a fire. Meanwhile, a mysterious militia from China is searching for Kotaro to use him in an occult ritual that grants eternal life. Among them is Luo Lang, a noted fighter hungry for battles following the orders of warlords. Kotaro then hires Ron as his bodyguard in exchange for a precious stone given to him by a monk, and they decide to travel together. From this moment on, their fates will be inextricably linked. Thus begins a touching story of friendship between two individuals who have experienced many personal tragedies, a masterless samurai and his friend, a man who swore never to wield a sword again, and a young boy who lost his parents.